And in case I know you've been in the hall, so I'll just say this at kind of the midway here. It's 4 minutes to speak, and I'll interrupt a little closer to right before 4.
Okay, excellent. I do have some things to pass out, so it'll just be for right here.
To
the board.
To the secretary. Thank you. And we'll pass this out.
Okay, Superintendent Hoffmeister and honorable members of the board and guests. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It truly is an honor to stand before the Oklahoma State Board of Education. I would like to preface by stating that in 4 minutes, I have to bring both my passion and my disdain for your leadership and the condition of public education in the state of Oklahoma. I hold 2 degrees from Oklahoma universities. It is absolutely appalling to conceive that in the 21st century, a theory has scaled the wall of higher ed institutions and embedded itself into our social constructs, entire political dynamics, and seeped into our daily cultural design. Critical race theory, or CRT, creeping along, has now arrived on the shores of public K-12 education with intentions to radicalize our institutions of education while housing the most precious of our commodities, our nation's youth. Over the last 10 to 15 years, I have watched federal overreach dip deep into the pockets of state sovereignty and authority. I witnessed federal leadership, the switch from Oklahoma past standards to Common Core, and now state leadership demanding CRT and overriding House Bill 1775, signed by the governor into law, defy and attempt to mandate public education behind the guise of social justice. Examples include districts providing cultural relevant professional development and state-sponsored curricula indoctrinating our children's youth with liberal pedagogy such as deconstructing whiteness and continuously addressing the idea of systemic racism while fueling neo-Marxist principles diametrically opposed to the American Republic, the American family, and unbiased American education, including the good, bad, and ugly side of American history. As educators, we hold the monumental responsibility of stewarding the brightest minds, greatest innovators, and the analytical thinkers. Critical race theory, or CRT, denies students the ability to process new experiences and new situations. It prejudices or prejudges every situation and every experience by assuming that one must look critically at those around them for fear that their race or sex will dictate superiority, that by virtue of your race or sex you are superior, or that solely by your experiences as a preferred race or sex you should now be treated adversely to assume levels of shared oppression. Thus, CRT creates a breeding or fertile ground for learned implicit bias. Critical race theory assumes that we have an inherent problem of race, assumes that we must problematize the issue of race further, and assumes divisions and separations exist and must be critically analyzed through the lenses of oppressed versus oppressor. Critical race theory is at odds with basic logical thought. Separation based upon ethnicity fuels the ideology. Identity factors such as race, gender, and sex determine outcomes. Subjective narratives and equity emerge. Objective truth, meritocracy, and equality fall to the wayside. This is not the American classroom. This is not the way of the American Republic. Critical race theory does not allow for basic tenets and principles expounded in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights that gives them the ability to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As an accomplished educator with global experience, including engaging with various cultures and ethnicities, my experiences allow me to unequivocally declare the United States of America is one of the most free, if not the freest nation in the world in regards to human rights. Our nation champions the basic privilege of equality bestowed to all men. All nations since the dawn of time have grappled with the moral turpitude of evil concepts such as slavery, and the United States is no different in the sense that she too succumbed to the evil that resides in the pit of slavery. But remember, we are one of the only nations beside Great Britain during the 19th century that championed the moral objectivity of abolishing slavery. The United States of America is so concerned with the concept of slavery, not only did it dictate the codified principles in our documents of law, such as the Emancipation Proclamation, but slavery and the rights of states to choose determined the spirit and the heart of the American Civil War. The United States chose correctly.
Thank you.
It is our responsibility as gatekeepers to the future to choose correctly this day. Superintendent Hoffmeister and honorable members of the board, you have a moral obligation and a professional duty to support, endorse, and enforce House Bill 1775, and to disallow, deny, and destroy any semblance of critical race theory in Oklahoma public education. Abraham Lincoln stated, "The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next." Thank you, Superintendent Hoffmeister and honorable members of the board and guests.
And